And we are back here on the Zero Empty Spaces podcast, episode 25, with brand new West Palm Beach warehouse district, West Palm artist Sarah, ThickPaint, LaPierre. You might know if you've been following the arts in Palm Beach County for a while here. If you didn't know about Zero Empty Spaces, we started an initiative, myself, Evan Snow, and my business partner, Mr. Andrew Martineau, to activate vacant commercial retail spaces as arts advocates and community builders to make affordable artist studios at $2 per square foot on a month-to-month basis with the water and electric included, so talented artists like her can have space to create an outside their home, be discovered by the public, fill empty storefronts, and countless other benefits that come with the activation of the process. And to find out more, you can log on to www.zeroemptyspaces.com. We're very thankful for the support of the Stiles Corporation as property manager, warehouse district, and Grandview Public Marketplace food hall here that we're adjacent to. It's a beautiful space.
This is gorgeous. This is such a fantastic location. Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Amen. It worked out.
It worked out, yeah.
A lot of good food, a lot of good energy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Even we're still just getting set up, but the people who have come through, and I've had clients come in already and friends stop by, so it's going to be a great space.
There's worse places we could be, there's worse things we could be doing, and the point of the podcast is to connect you with the talented artists like her that make the project what it is, and thankfully we've got a pretty good story to tell here. So without much further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself at a high level and how you got into the arts?
Sure. So it's a little bit of a long story. I'll try and kind of keep it sort of brief.
Do your thing.
I've been active in the arts here in Palm Beach County for 10 plus years. I started really like getting into my business right out of college. I knew it was what I wanted to pursue. And I had the upbringing that kind of got me into it. So my dad was a professional artist. Actually, his mother, my grandmother, was an artist as well. So the roots are there, the history is there. I grew up in his studio being totally underfoot, and he would actually let me paint on his canvases. My paint didn't always show up in the end version, but I actually still have the paint cart at my home studio that's got all my little doodles on the side of it, you know, a lot of cats and stick figures and stuff. But yeah, it's been a long, long history. So I grew up on the road with him, going to arts festivals. We would travel 6 months out of the year, up and down the East Coast. It was a really, really, you know, unique and wonderful experience to grow up that way. And it gave me a lot of time with him, a lot of time with my family. And it just was so encouraging for me as, you know, knowing that that's kind of what I wanted to pursue. My family wasn't afraid of it. They weren't like, oh God, she wants to be an artist. You know, she's never going to make any money. She's gonna, you know, she's going to need us for the rest of our lives. They were really supportive because they weren't afraid of it. They, you know, they knew that it could be a successful path.
Amen.
And a really fulfilling path for somebody to follow. So I had that along the way of just like, you know, wherever this is going to take you, we've got your back. Experiment, play, you know, it was all very, I don't know if lighthearted is the word, but it was nothing too serious, and that's how I maintain my work, is I try not to take things overly seriously, you know. It's how I live my life is creative and it's experimental, and I'm open to things like failure if that happens, but it allows me to learn lessons and move on to the next thing, and that's kind of what has brought me here. Is, you know, working in my home studio for years, doing the art shows, which has been wonderful, doing that circuit for years, knowing so many of the artists, becoming really good friends with them, having, you know, clients who come out and support me at any event that I go to, being able to do custom work for people all over Florida, all over the US now, and just growing along the way. Kind of the next stage for me has been, okay, where's my next studio? And here it is.
Amen.
It's been perfect.
The universe works in mysterious ways.
It does, yeah.
And there was one that almost worked out, but another space worked out, and then, you know, knew it was going to happen as a matter of time. And thankfully, you do have that lighthearted approach, and thankfully, you do have the support, or, you know, of the family, because not everybody might know, like when you tell your family you want to be an artist, sometimes they look at you like, you know, no, you're not going to sell drugs, or, you know, like it's some terrible thing.
Yeah, there can definitely be pushback, and that wasn't a part of my experience, which was great. And I actually, as I was growing up, I was homeschooled, so along that kind of path, I really had a lot of freedom to direct my course, and that I could give more focus to things like the arts because I had the flexibility to. And that was amazing too, because not, you know, even young artists can get discouraged or you know, get kind of caught up in the system of regular schooling and not have the time or, you know, whatever the materials, even if arts programs are getting cut.
Or the support, or the flexibility. Amen. And thankfully, throughout that process, throughout the previous 10 years, and throughout your journeys and travels, it's allowed you to develop to the point that you are today with your practice and your career. And I'd like to show them some of your process and then some of your current works in the space here. So we're gonna tilt the camera and show them.
Show them around.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your practice here in your studio?
Yeah, a little bit about me. So I'm an acrylic painter, and I work with palette knives, brushes, heavy body acrylic medium. That's why I'm known as ThickPaint. So these are all pieces that are kind of in process here. They're in different stages. You can see that I'll, you know, start creating something with an underpainting. I come up with a sketch. Sometimes I have a reference, sometimes I don't. Something that's just, you know, I've grown up here in like Jupiter Beach, Juno Beach, Palm Beach areas, so that's what kind of these scenes are. And then as I do an underpainting, sketch it out a little bit more, and then eventually I get to a place where I'm kind of happy with the layout, and then that's when the texture and the really fun stuff comes in. So you can see that a little bit more in this piece where it's a little further along, so it's starting to have some really thick, fun, it's very like fluid movement, and it's all done wet on wet. So once I start the palette knife, I work through the entire painting. And yeah, that's how it goes for me.
So for those that are not familiar with the palette knife.
The palette knife, I can show you
Let's show them.
So this is actually my palette here and my well-loved palette knife. One of them, this is one of my favorites. Just various shapes of knife, and the ones that I like are metal knives. They're all a little flexible. And I mix my acrylic paint in with my heavy medium. Shout out Liquitex,
Hey.
one of my favorites. They've got some great products, but once that's all mixed in, then this paint is really gonna have a nice body to it, so it can stand off the canvas and have these really, you know, sharp, great lines, lots of texture without dripping down or slipping off the canvas.
And that gives it the thick paint. Show us, whatever you'd like to show us.
Yeah, so like I said, these are all in kind of different stages of completion, but then over here, I've got some pieces that are done. These are some of my larger scale works. These are done with a matte medium, which is something that's new for me that I've really been enjoying lately. It's kind of got a really soft, almost like velvety look to it, but the colors are still really lush. And then these pieces here are something that I just started creating recently. I've been testing a bunch of different mediums, and so these are actually all little experiments that came out of that, and I just like the way they look. They're fun little thick paint swatches. So they're a part of my process too, is kind of testing new mediums and seeing how things play together. That's where those came from.
And what would you like the viewer to know when they view and interact with your work? What would you like them to take away?
It's a good question. I don't know that I have a specific, like, I hope that you see exactly this, but I do hope that people sort of see an energy about things. I'm a very happy painter. I like to share that with people who, you know, enjoy curating a space. If they're gonna put this where they live, where they work, where they see it all the time, I hope that it gives them a good feeling, whatever that means for them. Maybe it's evoking a memory of time they spent on the beach, or they just really enjoy a soft, you know, pretty blue color palette, or the texture gives them something kind of fun and interesting to look at when they pass by. It's all good.
Amen. And for those that would like to engage with you further, well, tell us, I guess, where we are and about when you're generally in the studio here.
Yeah, so we're in the new West Palm Beach Zero Empty Spaces location, which is amazing. It's located inside Grandview Public Market. It's in the warehouse district. I'm here in my space varying times. I'm kind of figuring out my schedule right now, but I will be posting that and sharing that in the next couple of weeks when I'll actually have a regular schedule. But you can always send me a message on Instagram. I'm ThickPaint. You can visit my website, which is just saralapierre.com, and my Facebook, which is Sarah LaPierre Artist. So those are all the places you can find me.
Amazing. And what do you like the most about having a space, a studio space to create in outside of your home so far?
There's so many things to love. One of them is that I get to come in this space, I get to focus on my work. When I've had a studio space in my home, it's wonderful, it's comfortable, but there are a lot of distractions there, including my 3 adorable pets who love to be a part of my process. So they're not here. I get to focus on my work, on my painting, on my creativity, and I get to be around other creative people. And being in a space where anybody can kind of walk through and be a part of the energy that gets into the painting, it's really cool, and it's just a special place to be. So I'm happy to be here.
Amen. And now that you've been doing this for a few years and have reached a very humble, modest level of success, what's some advice you might have for young, emerging artists in the game?
Emerging artists, whether you're young or old, one of my first pieces of advice is to get yourself a professional social media. If that's really what you want to do, it's a great way to market. It's a great way to also get feedback beyond your friends and family. You can open your work up to the public without having to be in a public space. But also just experiment and have fun and play, and don't be afraid of the failures. They're just lessons waiting to be learned. Yeah, those are my 2 biggest ones.
And you do have some friends in the space, and the friends pop up in your artwork. Can you tell us about your relationship with the plants and how the plants are a part of your artwork now?
My relationship with the plants is just that I love them. I've been, in one of my previous studio spaces was in Rosemary Square in the garden shop, which is literally a garden center. So I was just painting, being surrounded by these beautiful plants. So that's actually where these come from. I had to bring some of them over with me. And they do show up in my painting all the time. I mean, I'm somebody that's very inspired by nature. So spending time outside, spending time with living, growing things is a big part of my process.
Amen. And you could see it throughout some of the works here.
The palm trees, the plumeria, I did a whole new series of these blooms that are all over South Florida. They're known for actually being in Hawaii too, and what they use to make the leis out of. They're very beautiful flowers.
Beautiful. And we'll invite you to join us in the studio here once we have a proper grand opening date. This place just started, probably closer to August, though we encourage you to follow along Zero Empty Spaces. Follow along Sarah on the interwebs and social medias. If you're interested in some plant-based or non-plant-based artwork as well, please don't hesitate to reach out, connect, engage. Other things in closing you're available for? Commissions, lessons?
Available for commissions. I love doing custom work for clients. I have a wide range of sizes that I offer. I do something called Mini Mondays, where every Monday I paint a new series of miniature paintings. They're 6x6s. They're unique every week, and those get posted on my website at 7 p.m. every Monday, and it's always a little different. So yeah.
So stay tuned to that. Log on to the website. Come by, check us out in the warehouse district. Thank you very much. We're glad to have you part of the program, and wish you nothing but the best with your future success.
See you soon.
Cheers.